an impediment to economic and social development of the country. Stakeholders say if the development is not checked by the relevant authorities, the effort by government to ensure a safe, health, and crime-free society will come to nothing. Sandra Erekosima tells us more.
Of youth has died from drug addiction. Why it is advisable for government, individual bodies, and private sector to engage youth in activities which would take them away from this act. The chairman, Eastern Zone of the Ijaw Youth Council, Comrade Biwari, says two of the factors that force youth to indulge in drug abuse are negative peer pressure and poverty.
The root causes of drug, for me, it's bad company, peer pressure, and most especially we will now look into poverty, because a lot of persons feels because they could not make ends meet, that is a way of life to see how they can relax themselves and also perhaps stimulate them for irregularities and social vices in the society. And the advice for our teammates is to stay off drugs, is to stop abusing drugs, because the end point of it is simply destruction and death.
Ibiweri also enjoins stakeholders and relevant authorities to show interest in the fight against drugs abuse through massive sensitization and engage youth in skills acquisition.
We want stakeholders, relevant authorities. We as council, we are making sure that we want to sensitize in partnering with your TV, the Atlantic TV, to sensitize our teaming youths cut across the jaw, extraction and communities to stay off illicit drugs, because drugs over the years has made our environment to be very hostile. We know there is poverty, and ordinarily we can also make ends meet by indulging in very gainful activities, and that is why we are also wanting to appeal to the IOCs, the multinationals, to see how they engage our youth in possibly skills acquisition, empowerment trainings, empowerment programs. You know, Nigeria now, we are diversifying, even if it's not made popularly known to us, but at least everybody is going to agriculture. Most people are talking about green energy and all that. And we want to also appeal to the government, especially the Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Abia state government that we are in charge of, to see how we engage our youth meaningfully in the way, like as we said, like employment and skills acquisition, to making sure they are engaged, because a lot of our youths aren't engaged, and so when there's bad company and peer pressure, they go into illicit drug abuses. So for me, we advise them to stay off drugs and see how they better their future for the betterment of the generation.
Also a pharmacist, Ngozi Ngweze, says the continuous intake of drugs without doctor's prescription causes drug resistance and could damage vital organs in the body.
Youth in particular are the ones that usually engage themselves in necessity. And by the issue of the fact that they don't know the implication of it. When people abuse drugs, it usually have a lot of negative effects. For instance, they are sending a wrong signal to the body system, thereby if the drug in question does not see what to fight, the situation whereby people now come up and buy them and use them, at the end of the day, it may cause what we call drug resistance. That is a situation whereby you are in need of it, you cannot no longer work in your system. That is one factor that used to happen. Also, help out in bringing up other issues. It can damage the system, for instance, because when you abuse drugs, some of the drug has negative effect on the system, particularly when it is not well used, it's not on recommendation, can lead to serious internal organ damage most times.
Speaking on the menace, a public affairs analyst, Andy Akpotive, advised youth to get addicted to things that will make them productive in the society and avoid getting addicted to drugs.
Advice to youth is that you must try as much as possible to stay healthy. Drugs actually, they have such effects that will get you to become dependent on them. And if you get dependent on drugs, trust me, you are going to be so consumed that you cannot be as productive as you ordinarily would be. My advice is simple. As a youth myself, I say to you, get addicted only to those things that can make you a better person, that can make your family better, that can make society better, that can make indeed Nigeria better. Get addicted to good life, get addicted to hard work, get addicted to grace, get addicted to those things that will bring, happiness to you and to your society instead of getting addicted to drugs. I challenge you that if you stay away from drugs, you most definitely would be able to live productive.
He emphasized the need for government to monitor the drugs market as a step towards checking the injection of illicit drugs by Nigerians.
Controls. So first and foremost, if you did not check where and how you are getting a thing, you cannot check how it is used. So where are you getting the drugs from? What indeed is motivating people to take these drugs? How are the people who are selling these drugs able to sell these drugs? I think if we are able to block these loopholes, we are able to set safety standards around them, more and more people would no longer be taking drugs. Today, it's an open market. Every Tom, Dick, Harry, Tamno, and Dokubo easily can go get drugs from different sources that are available. There's a plethora of sources available to give drugs to those who are old enough and those who are not. We are saying to you as government, as much as it depends on you, regulate society. Because in the first place, that was why we elected, nominated, or selected you into leadership position. As much as it depends on you, regulate society, starting from, regulating the market of the drugs. Once you do this, you can be sure that you have taken care of armed robbery, you can be sure you have taken care of kidnapping, you can be sure that you have taken care of certain vices that have capacity to bring the country down and to give us back.
Some stakeholders attribute the increase of drugs abuse among youth to the inability of government to create enabling environment for youth to strive.
It's unfortunate that the trend is increasing, and no thanks to the harsh economy of the Nigerian state, as even admitted by President Muhammadu Buhari during the last Muslim festival. So many factors could be responsible that is motivating the young people into hard drugs, because it will not make any sense if we are quick to conclude that they are now victims. To keep a balance or to address the issue, we needed to appreciate what are the motivating factors that have led them to this very unfortunate, sorry situation of taking to hard drugs, and even in an increasing trend. I think it's all traced to the rise and fall of leadership, and not just leadership, the quality of leadership that should be responsible and responsive. Very quick one, we know in Netherlands now they are closing their prison gates, so you are curious to know what is the internal security measure they have that had kept youths away from crime. Clearly it's because you have a responsible and a responsive leadership that is proactive, that will not undermine the role of youths in building a society, and therefore the government will not wait till they resort to whatever they feel could serve as a relief from whatever socioeconomic depression and trauma they've been going through as a result of not being able to meet their basic needs and their demands, as growing adults. So
the representative from our constituency did not give that enable environment for the youths to engage themselves. Ordinarily, if our society is bad, sometimes it comes from the family, sometimes it comes from our representative, our leaders. Because if we have an enable environment that can also engage youth, carry out youth activities like youth empowerment, youth development, I think it will help us to save our youth not to engage in hard drugs. But because the government does not, create that enable environment for the youth to see how they can showcase themselves, also exercise their talent. That is why so many of the youth are engaging themselves.
The cause that youth engage in drugs up to the extent that they cannot even stay without using it is that based on the knowledge that I have in the community, I'm meant to understand that it's lack of job. When they are idle, staying in together, playing water and other things, before you know, they will think about illicit drugs, which they may be thinking that it may help them one way or the other to adapt to the environment and the society, which is not so. Another one is that due to the mismanagement of our economy, mostly in the federation and in the state, unlike the way out of 100% of people living in the state now, about 80 to 85% does not have a job. So if actually 80-85% are engaged to something reasonable, even though they are not working, at the end of the month, engage into skills acquisition, of which they will have target. At the end of the month, they are expecting something. It will enable them be busy and be steadfast in waiting for some other better thing.
Advise government to create job opportunities for youth in order to reduce and discourage drug abuse amongst them.
first of all, the youths also on their part don't need to give in into the failings of leadership in Nigeria. They should realize that their destiny is in their hand. They are not the only ones going through the economic hardship or whatever family inconsistency or mistakes, because some of them, one of the such factors are owed to or traced to family background, discordant families that are not in harmony. So one way they feel they can outlive such mental trauma or pains is to take to drugs, and some as a result of peer groups. And I think largely is the economic trend. They want to meet with the social class, of having all they want at their fingertips. So, and some is to give them fake confidence and courage to go into illicit crimes or illegitimate activities to make ends meet. If you have responsible and responsive leadership, these issues or factors that is leading these young people to taking to hard drugs, that is very detrimental to their health, the society, and the family and their future, can be nipped in the bud. So it's all about having a society with a very responsible and responsive leadership.
Youth had not just because our government has failed us, not just because we don't have that environment to showcase ourselves. I am looking at if a youth can also come up to put up himself, test par the environment that is not capable from the government for us to put ourselves together. We should also jettison from drugs, drugs that will make us not to be meaningful, think wisely, doing things that will make us, look responsible, and as a church, youth that can take care of or that will take the leadership tomorrow.
What we should do is to introduce all-round skills acquisition for the 26 local government to enable all the youths be busy. Anywhere you are, let government monitor you to know if actually you are working or not. If you are not doing something, you must be engaged in that skills acquisition so that you have a brighter future.
Sandra Erekosima, ATN News, Port Harcourt.
Thank you, Sandra, for the report. Moving ahead, Britain's booster program for COVID-19